Hello and welcome to the Unusual Stories podcast. My name is Wojciech Salski, I'll be your host for today. And before we begin, may I just remind you, if you find this podcast useful, entertaining, exciting, fun in any way, then please follow the link below, click the subscribe or, follow button, depending on which platform you're listening to, and share it with a friend as well. This goes a long way. It's the best way to support the podcast. It's the way that it grows, and I would be greatly appreciative of all of your support. If you'd like to support the podcast in any other way, you can follow the same link below for some, maybe sending me an email, letting me know I'm doing a good job. Maybe you'd like to support the podcast financially, like some people do. That's also amazing. In any way you'd like to, feel free to do so. And I am very, very grateful to all of you that are already listening, supporting, and ultimately making this a more meaningful experience. Because as I keep saying again and again, and I've recently had a chance to discuss it with my friends that I've seen, that I've been, friends with for many years now, and we sort of one of them recollected that I have the podcast, and I still said, I continue doing it every week, more or less. And he was very impressed by it, and he said that, how is it going? And I said, it's going great, and I'll share with you today, guys, as well, some of the highlights that I've learned about the way my podcast has been listened to this year and how our audience grew and such. But in general, still, I did say to my friend, I don't really mind, I'm doing this ultimately first and foremost for myself, and I find this to be exciting and fun. And even when I do have days that are a bit more difficult, for example, today, I don't know if you can hear, but my voice might be a bit difficult. It's because I fell ill at the beginning of the week, and I'm still recovering. But since Christmas is coming, and I really wanted to get this episode done for you in time, so you can still listen to it before you start your Christmas celebrations and the New Year's celebrations, I've decided, it's time to record it anyhow. The point I'm making here is I'm doing this for myself, and since I'm in this for life, I don't think I'm gonna stop producing the podcast up until I physically cannot anymore, or maybe, for whatever reason it's physically impossible to do so, which, for whatever reason, I will be here. So it's great to see the community grow. It's great to see all of you messaging me, both on social media and privately on email. And it's great to see that more people are listening. But ultimately, these are just cherries on a cake, like it's icing. I don't mind because I'm in this for life. So without a doubt, I will be here, even if you decide not to click that follow button just yet. Maybe you need another episode or 2 or 200 to do so. So yeah, it's just a funny little thing that we've discussed with my friend, and ultimately it doesn't really matter, right? What we do is what we do. The important thing is why we do those things, and for me, why I do this is I find this to be one of those activities, those few activities in my life that have given me so much and are giving me so much that it's just a no-brainer to keep it going. The satisfaction I get from, the simple pat on the back by some, or from me being able to reminisce about some of my parts in my life, because by now, the podcast has been with me for pretty much 3 years. I can imagine this to be a vehicle in the future where I can look back and maybe remind myself about one of the books that I've read, or recollect about a time that I had in my life, or reflect on an idea that at the time seemed XYZ, and we are constantly growing if we are learning, hopefully, and developing. So I'm excited to see what the future brings, and I like to look back at the highlights from the past, and I certainly believe this podcast to be one of those well-oriented filters for my highlights, because this is another thing, I'm sorry, I'm waffling here off the topic, but hey, it's the end of the year, I might as well. I feel like everyone at work is feeling very similar in terms of end of the year, work. I've also had this thought recently, and we discussed it, that maybe in a way these episodes that I'm recording right now will be a message to my future kids, grandkids, and so forth, which is absurd to think about, but at the same time isn't really, because what other medium would allow for such a true representation of one's thoughts than simple, unscripted speech, monologue? And there is a certain filter that I've applied, because I know what I like and what I'm interested in, and I know what you, my dear listener, the majority of you at least, I know it's a sort of a community vote, right? If I see that a certain episode is more popular than others, then I know that this could be an indicator that that particular topic, that particular book is more interesting for my listeners, and I do care about that. It's not like I fully make my decisions based off of that, because there is a certain level of independence and randomness that I apply also to the books that I read. And sometimes someone will just say, like, listen or read this book and record an episode about it. I think it's really, really interesting, and even though it might be slightly different than what we've discussed before, it does seem to me suitable for us to discuss. But even if it is a book that is very different to others, I still filter my decision on what to talk about that book through the perspective I have of you. So in a way, you are still deciding, or you are at least helping me decide on what's going to be our next topic. And I have a little notebook I showed you a couple of times, and in that notebook I have a little list of potential topics, not only potential books I'd like to share with you, but also potential topics in general that I'd like to discuss maybe in the future. And today we're actually gonna briefly explore one of those topics as well. I'll start with a quote and then explore that. But the point here is, it's like an organically built system at this point. There is a certain filter through which I see the world that could be called this, my podcast filter. And every now and then I encounter something that sparks this light bulb inside my head, with a little note to myself: this could be interesting for my audience. And so I take a note of it, and maybe in a later stage I develop it into a more cohesive whole argument or an idea, and then I share it with you. So that's definitely gonna be still very much so a part of our adventure. But let's start. Sorry to sort of ease you in so lengthy. But yeah, here we are. Well, it's lovely to see you, first of all. Sorry to not have been here for 2 weeks now. I've been really busy, and overall, the time of the year is quite hectic. I would be surprised if you are not busy, either with preparing for Christmas and, holidays, or with working, because it's the end of the year and everyone needs, everything sort of buttoned up. The plan for today is a threefold as per usual, and I have some additional sort of end of the year gifts for you that I'd like to share with you. First of all, I'll very briefly talk about what has taken place in my life over the last year, more or less, and also I'll reflect on some of the worldwide events in a way, and maybe summarize at least my perspective on 2024. And don't worry, I'll focus majorly on the optimistic and positive. I don't think there is much point in getting bogged down in contemplating sorrow so much, especially just before Christmas. I feel like it's a festive moment, it's a festive time. We're going to spend it with our families, hopefully, and those we love. So I would like to be able to look back at this episode, and of course, there is a little bit of troubling stuff that I will talk about, but for the most part, I'd like to share with you the good and the bad and the ugly, as they say. I'll try to stick to the good though. Then, secondly, I'll share with you just some perspective on the next year, 2025. How is it going to look like? What's up with the podcast next year? What do I think in general about New Year resolutions and stuff? We'll recap some of our last year's New Year resolution discussion, maybe just as an inspiration for you. I know some people struggle to decide whether to make a resolution or not. Is it worth it? Does it work? And so forth. And then I'll talk about this topic that I've taken a note of recently in one of other podcasts I've listened to. I'm pretty sure it was Joe Rogan's podcast. I don't know. It's just a quote that I've heard, and then I've thought about that quote, developed some of my own thoughts on it. And I'd like to reflect on it. This is going to be probably the main dish of our little episode today. And then finally, I have 2 gifts for you, 3 even. One is I would like to share with you my good life prayer I've written this year, and I'll share a context why I've written it this year in particular, and what does it signify to me. And I'll read it out for you. If you'd like to take it on, feel free. I thought that might be a nice gesture. I consider you to be my friends. Funnily enough, it's a weird thing, right? Like, how can you consider someone to be your friend if you don't know them? But in a weird way, that's how I feel about my audience at this point. I feel that you might know more about the way I see the world than many of my friends around me that never picked up the podcast and never listened. So why don't I share with you something meaningful? And then I'll share with you the highlights of the podcast in general. I'll share with you some amazing stats from Spotify in particular. So for all of you who are listening on Spotify, this is going to be relevant in a sense that you made these stats appear as they are. And finally, I'll share with you, and I'll put in the link below, I'll add it to my Linktree link, a request form for you that you can send me if you'd like to download the PDF of this. This is it's a tool that I use every year to review my goals and to take them forward and plan my next year's goals. So I don't know, I was talking about this with my friend the other day and I shared it with him. And then yesterday I was falling to sleep and I thought, wow, that it could be a nice little gift for Christmas or New Year's for people. So if you'd like to use that, then it will be below in the link for you to explore, to use and abuse. So yeah, okay. With this in mind, let us take a start. So first and foremost, what happened in my life in this year? Some of you might know this. I've finished my master's uni degree in Edinburgh, so I'm finally done. I've had my graduation and I've started a new job. I'm already in the job, been working there for a couple of months. It's going good. In general, life is good. I feel very blessed. And in the most, like maybe the most relevant for the podcast stuff is that rebranding is still in progress. And I don't want to say I apologize and I'm sorry that it's a delay. It's a sweet and sour kind of feeling because there is no rush in rebranding. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while, so there is no rush, but since we are working on it and it's taken longer than usual, and I'm pretty sure any construction project or any project ever usually takes longer than expected, I've decided I'm not gonna be posting any of these ideas or sharing the rebranding journey just yet. This is gonna probably happen as one of the first episodes in the new year. So for the time being, I just wanted to reassure you, yes, it is coming, but I'll let you know when. Don't worry, it's not like the episodes will suddenly disappear or the podcast will suddenly be with a changed name and you will not be able to find it. But it is coming and I'm really excited about this. It's simply because the end of the year comes with a lot of additional troubles, tribulations, and responsibilities. I feel like both me and my friend who's helping me prepare these new logos and everything, we've hit a few walls, so we are quite delayed. And that's okay. It's completely normal in a sense, so don't you worry. And it's maybe a bit more of a reassuring for myself not to worry because there is no rush. As I said, we're in this for life, so if a new logo and new brand appears a month later than expected, then it doesn't really change much in the grander scheme of things. Now, in terms of the world, I would like to share with you the three my three main observations in terms of what's going on in the world, and they are tightly connected to this idea of free speech and safety that we've discussed so many times over the past few weeks. So first of all, I'm really sorry still and always will be until there are no more wars in the world, which I hope maybe one day there won't be. But of course, 2024, as much as for myself it seemed like a good year, I can imagine has been horrific for many people out there who are actually affected by the military conflicts around the globe. And, it renders me speechless to consider that in the 21st century, with all that we know, and with our ability to be so interconnected to the point that so many of you all around the world are watching this episode, we still do not know, maybe in our upper echelons of society, the elite classes that are actually ruling, the politicians and so forth, are still unable to agree that war is hell and we should not pursue military conflict. I guess it's maybe because it's a money-making machine, as we discussed, this is definitely something that bums me out greatly and frustrates me. So I just wanted to extend my deepest condolences to all of you out there who are, either directly or indirectly affected by those conflicts. And I pray for you, I feel sorry for you, and I hope that everything will, come to a peaceful end soon enough. I truly believe that 2025 might bring some well-deserved changes for the positive for many people. So let us hope for that. That's the intention I would like to enter the next year with. In terms of the more positive, maybe exciting news, the one topic that I've shared with you again and again, and yet again, free speech and independence, those are the keywords here, is Bitcoin. So as I shared with you now on 5 or 6 different episodes with different books, it seems to me like a no-brainer to start educating yourself about the nature of money and Bitcoin in particular, how it fits that money nature. I feel like it's maybe one of the best gifts you can gift yourself and your future, family, friends, and generations to come after you to understand how money works and how economy works. It's actually not as difficult as it may seem. And so I would urge you to remember what 2024 and the discussions around Bitcoin brought for Bitcoin and how 2025 might revolutionize it further. I'm not going to dive deeper into this. I'm not an expert. I'm just curious, observant, and explorer. But you know which books to read. We've discussed some of them. Sovereign Individual and Bitcoin Standard are probably two, and Creature from Jekyll Island, which is a hefty one. Those are probably the 3 books that I would suggest anyone who is interested to read and then consider for themselves whether or not to get some Bitcoin and basically start investing in a more true money-like vehicle. And then finally, I can't avoid expressing my appreciation for the listener base in the United States. As you all know, and we've shared it, we've talked about this a couple of times, majority of you who are listening to me on a regular basis are from the United States. I don't know why is that. Maybe because in general in the United States more people listen to podcasts. Maybe because United States people like to listen to people with weird accents from UK that are definitely not from the UK originally. Whatever it is, I appreciate you, and of course I appreciate the UK listeners and everyone else, which I think there are 37 or 47 countries that are listening to us to this as we speak. But, there was a big time in the United States that I've definitely observed closely about USA elections. And I would like to, first of all, congratulate all of you out there who are considering these elections to have gone the way you wanted to. I do believe that it was a good outcome for the country, and I hope that 2025 will bring you much needed betterment of your situation. I'm quite excited to see how the new government established around Trump will actually impact your country's ability to basically rise, because there have been, and I think in general in the Western world there are many troubles that countries are dealing with, and strong politicians with wise people to advise them around them is definitely what we need more of Marcus Aurelius, the one of the Caesars, the one that wrote the book Meditations, which we've discussed, is famous to have said that kings should be philosophers and philosophers should be kings. And obviously, it is unlikely to happen, unfortunately, but it is something to strive for, and he is considered by far to be the most wise of the Caesars ever and the most just one. So, maybe with good fortune and God willing, your country will be able to thrive, and you will feel better, and everyone within it will feel like the burden has been lifted, and maybe also the engagement with so many different conflicts that is obviously unnecessary will subside. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, and I pray for you. And this is something my girlfriend will tell you that I've been following very closely over the past few months, especially during the election night. I watched the whole election night. I watched all the debates and stuff. I find it quite interesting, and I find it to be very, very pivotal and important for European countries as well. So therefore, I do believe it's valuable to think about these things. Of course, if you don't agree with my opinions, that's fine, that's okay. As we've discussed so many times here, this space where we share ideas and where I give you maybe some insights, hoping that some of them will be useful for you, is a space for just that. So, if anything, I hope that the best way I would advise you to do is go educate yourself, figure out books that are valuable to read those books, see people and listen to people that are experts in their fields, and then hopefully make your own decision and curate your own opinion. Nevertheless, I bow to you, my big listener base in the United States, and obviously all the others, and I truly appreciate, it was such a big moment for you this year that I thought it is fair to include this in our 2024 end of the year sort of wrap up. So yeah, this is for the news. It feels so weird, eh? I feel like recently I've become more and more accustomed to experimenting in the podcast, and maybe it has something to do with just feeling like maybe there is not enough experimentation in my life on a daily basis. I don't know. Maybe work has started to put some board pressure on me, so I feel like I want to experiment somewhere else. But I just feel like, why don't I do something different and see what sticks? I hope you like it. So in terms of hopes for next year, as I said, in terms of the of my life, I'll refrain you the details. I'll spare you the details, they say. I would just like to talk about this. So last year, and I'll link below the link. Wait, I'll actually take a note of that. Yeah. Sorry for my illness. Slightly. So as we talked last year, and I'll link below the episode for last year's end of the year, New Year resolutions or whatever. I prefer intentions to resolutions, and maybe it's because an intention is something you can keep no matter if you stumbled. A resolution is very difficult to keep if you see it as something of 0 to 1, If you consider whatever goal you decide for yourself for this year, that it will only be fulfilled if you do it 100%, otherwise you will fail and that's it, then you're setting yourself up for failure, because you are likely to stumble over your year. More than once, may I just say. So I would always put emphasis on consistency rather than motivation. The way I see it is like motivation is like a big, strong fire you have at the very beginning. And then consistency can be even a tiny little flame, but something that you keep every day, every other day. You come back to it and you keep it curated so it stays. It doesn't have to be as strong as motivation, but it certainly lasts longer if you keep it up longer. So my invitation for you in terms of the New Year resolutions, and this is because today a friend asked me about it, is consider for yourself what you would like to do, what is the goal, and then remind yourself that you are likely to fail and fail often and stumble badly. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you're gonna do about it when you do. So something interesting that I remember last year exploring as a concept as I was thinking about the startup idea is there is this phenomena that people who decide to get fit in the New Year's, they sign up for the gym, and usually around March time, people stop going to the gym. And in my opinion, the reason for it is that 2.5, 3 months is too little to see big effects that we expect, but it's long enough for you to lose that initial flame of motivation. And so if you don't remind yourself about the fact that consistency will get you there and not the excitement and quick win, you are likely to fail because you'll just stop. The failure here is not because you stumbled, it's because you decided not to get back up. And I would like to emphasize that for you, whatever you decide to do this year, this coming year, make it a point to do it even if you stumble a couple of times. I've often told you, I tick myself a box every time I do a little habit that I decide to do each day, and I have a bunch of them. And I still consider the week to be productive and satisfying if I manage to do 70% of the things I did, because as Jordan Peterson once said, 70 beats the hell out of 0. The point here is accept that you will not be perfect about it, do it anyway, and just have this approach, this attitude that you will be doing it until it happens, not until March, and if in March it's not there, then you quit and you start something else. And whatever will help you with it, whether it's a tick box, whether it's an app on your phone, whether it's a whiteboard that you use, feel free to do whatever. For me, a whiteboard used to be useful. Now in my notebook, I usually have this little space. Sometimes I don't even do it anymore. With some habits, I just track them in my head as something that I do fairly consistently almost every day. And the thing here is, many people start, not many people continue, and even less people actually finish. And that's why if there's one thing you can do to accelerate your success in life in whatever area, is consistency. Just keep showing up. Keep showing up for yourself every day, every other day. If you've had a weekend bender, no matter, go back again. If you've had 2 weeks holiday, come back again. If you've had 3 months off because you injured yourself, it doesn't matter, come back again. Coming back is the hardest part, but I find it even more frustrating not to come back. Like, I make it a point to finish what I've started, and we've done an episode about this, we've discussed this extensively, and I would like to encourage you for your New Year's to take this intention forward, that whatever you decide you will do it until it's done. Unless it's something so crazy, or unless it's something that is so useless that at some point you realize it's with no benefit. But if it is something that you genuinely want, or if it is something that will genuinely benefit you or those around you or the world, then do it until it happens. That's my attitude, for example, with the podcast. I don't care how long it takes for this podcast to be sufficient financially, in a sense that maybe I don't have to work anymore outside of the studio. I don't care, because I'm doing it for the podcast anyhow. I'm doing it no matter. So at the moment I might be recording in a little wardrobe in my rented apartment. But in the future, I'm certain that there will be a studio, that there will be someone to help me with all the cameras, and that there will be guests coming in and out, and maybe someone to bring us coffee when we need it, rather than drinking a cold one from before. It does not matter. I just do it consistently, and I've been doing it for 3 years, and I will do it for another 20 years, 30, 40, however many years God gives me, if it need be. So I would give you this advice for your New Year's resolution or New Year's intention is focus on consistency. Focus on showing up. And a nice quote that I have above in my kitchen on the whiteboard is, consistency beats talent every day. I truly believe it to be the case. And I would urge you to emulate and take it on in your life. Now, finally, an interesting thing I've noticed when we were talking with my friend about this, about these New Year resolutions, is that when people ask you about New Year resolutions, when people talk about New Year resolutions, we tend to, or maybe, this is just my observation, but I seem to notice that people in general focus on resolutions that are either related to health, or to finance, or to personal goals, right? So out of 6 or 8, however you want to cut the wheel of life, image, we seem to focus on 3, maybe 4 if career goes there. I would encourage you, and this is my gift to you, which you can download, following the link below. I'll make sure to write next to that link exactly where you can find it. I would urge you to make New Year intentions, New Year plans, New Year resolutions, whatever you want to call it, for all areas of your life. Why would you only choose to plan your finance, health, and career and give no thought whatsoever to your relationships, social, and spirituality, or passion, hobby, creativity, whatever areas you want to consider there? This is something that boggles my mind so greatly, and I've observed it again and again with my friends as well, that when I ask people what they wish for in life, or what's your intention for the birthday, or what's your wish, people usually focus on either material gains, health, or career. But there is so much more to life, and if you don't plan, if you don't wish for, intend to other areas of your life, attend to other areas of your life, then these areas will suffer because you will leave them aside as you're tending to those that you find important. And I would urge you to balance it all out, because balance in life will definitely play a great part in your life's satisfaction. So while it might not be that easy at first and you might go slower than others, because if there is one person who only focuses on getting more money, and then the other person is focusing on getting more money while at the same time keeping a good relationship with their wife, keeping a good relationship with their friends, having some time off, spirituality, health, etc. Obviously, the first person is going to be accelerating financially quicker than the guy who needs to tend to all the other areas, but over the long term, I think it's a more sustainable strategy, because life does not only consist of one area. If you have money but you have nothing else, do you have anything? You know, it's like a little mandala of a sort that you're creating, a patchwork that you're creating of your life areas. And I would urge you to take a moment and think about at least 1 year resolution for each of those areas. For instance, myself, for this year, I had 4 goals in each area. For next year, there's going to be probably another similarly 4 or 3 goals for each area. So 1 for career, 1 for health, 1 for finance, 1 for relationship, 1 for family, and 1 for spirituality. 6. So these are the areas that I consider when I'm thinking about my life and how to approach those areas, how to make them work, and how to achieve goals in those areas. So yeah, I'll put the link below to my little PDF, and if that's something useful for you, that's amazing. If it isn't, that's also fine. And I just hope that, by approaching your next year more holistically, and maybe even looking at it as a part of a bigger plan, maybe a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan, you will be more likely to succeed over the long term with a more satisfaction, other than just focusing on one thing and then realizing that you allowed other areas of your life to wither because you were so focused on this one aspect. So yeah, I don't know what you think about that. Now, finally, our big topic of the day. And it actually ties into what we've just discussed, so, not that it was planned. I heard on a podcast recently this quote that all action is an expression of value. All action is an expression of value. So, for example, if I'm standing in one corner of the room and I decide to go to the other side of the room, this means implicitly that I believe that there is more value in being on the other side of the room than to be where I stood at the beginning. Similarly, if I decide to go to a shop to buy some food to make dinner, it means that I value more going to the shop and buying and making myself dinner than not doing it, right? So in a way, it shows you also prioritizing. Whatever you do, whatever you focus on doing, shows value of what you consider to be valuable. So, the way you decide how you spend your weekend, that's a good indicator of what you value in life. A way you prioritize your daily chores, that's a good indication. And, something that really starkly is visible all around the globe, and for a good reason, is because we need to make money, the majority of us need to make money to keep ourselves alive, because it costs to eat, it costs to live, and so forth. Work is something that even people who trouble to get up in the morning to do, no problem. Sometimes we even rush out the door literally straight out of the bed if we need to because of work. Why is that? Well, I think it's because we know deep inside of us that it's so valuable for us to be there, it's so important for us to have that job, that we will sacrifice our comfort of staying in bed longer and clicking that snooze button, or even sometimes showering if you overslept, for the benefit that the ability to earn money brings. And that's fair. The problem shows up though, and this is something that I again and again argue with my girlfriend about, and some of my friends I discuss with as well, that why For example, do you have trouble waking up in the morning on the weekend if you have something important to do, which is your hobby, or which is your passion, or which is something that you really truly value, and yet you stay in bed? Well, maybe it's because you don't value it as much as you think you would, or maybe you don't think it's valuable subconsciously or consciously, even though it should be for you valuable. You know, I invite people again and again, and the major theme of this podcast is to read more books, right? To educate yourself. And people ask me, how do you read so many books? And I say, because I prioritize reading them. And people, tell me they don't have time to read a book. Well, everyone has a time to read a book. It's just a matter of making that time, I have the same amount of hours in the day like you. But if you choose to find 10 minutes to read a book, you will do it. If you don't choose to find 10 minutes to read a book, you will not do it. It's as simple as that. You probably waste a day around 2 or 3 hours on your phone. Well, out of those 2 or 3 hours, you could carve out 10 minutes or 20 or 30 to either read a book or work out or make healthier food or do whatever, call a friend, whatever you consider to be valuable and you cannot do it at the moment is not because you don't have time, it's because you don't make time for it. Because even if you are working 12-hour shifts, there is still another, I would argue, 4 hours, if you have an 8-hour sleep, that you could somehow cut around to make sure that you do have time for 10 minutes of book reading or a workout or even just 10 push-ups. So the point here is that all action is an expression of value, and instead of considering what do you value, I would invite you in this wonderful time of New Year resolutions to look back at your life and look around, at your life right now and consider, what do actions that I take every day tell me about the things I value? And I think it's a very good indicator in general of realizing where you are in life. Like, for example, let's say that this is just an example. Let's say that your house is quite messy. It's not been cleaned for a while. You're not really the healthiest in terms of physical health. You're quite upset with the world. You're a bit depressed. You're constantly watching Netflix or you're constantly on social media. You don't really have that many friends or you don't reach out to those that you have. And you feel a bit down. Well, if you look around and without judgment, because there's no point in judging and making yourself feel even more bad about yourself, but just simply look around and consider, what values do you think bring you these results? You can tell whether or not you value being organized, whether or not you value being healthy, whether or not you value being friendly and sociable, whether or not you value being happy. And so if you do feel depressed and you've not worked out for a week, like me, I was ill, and I'm an extreme case. I just recently realized I feel so bad without any sort of physical exercise after a few days that it feels like I'm almost, falling into some sort of a depression. It gets me down so much, like I get so hard on myself and I feel so bad about myself. Maybe you're like me. You need to move. We are physical creatures and we need movement. So, there is this funny quote from someone that it's very difficult to feel depressed when you're sprinting. And it's like, yeah, if you do workout, if you do some sort of activity physically, if you do mental activity, if you read something difficult or maybe you learn something new, if you get out there and meet some people, whatever, if you do something difficult in general, you're much more likely to get yourself out of the slump. It's just a matter of prioritizing that over feeling, and insert here how you're feeling. The point I'm making here is you can observe in your life right now, based on what you have, based on the people that you surround yourself with, based on the state of your body and of your mind and of your soul, you can sort of figure out what values and what gods do you praise. If you are messy and you don't really care about cleaning, then you probably don't value cleanliness much. If you don't value cleanliness and order much, you're less likely to invite someone over to spend time with you, right? Because you might feel even a bit bad about the state of your house, so you will withdraw even more. Of course, I'm drawing here some, random conclusions, and these are all just examples, but the point here is figure out how do you feel about your state of affairs in those different areas of life we discussed, and then consider what do you value and what could you do then, what actions would you take to make these values visible. I think from the Bible the quote is something like, by the fruits they bear you will know them. It's like, don't tell me what do you do, show me. If you say that you're a sporty person, you sometimes don't have to say it. If you're a sporty person, people see you're sporty because you look healthy, you look athletic, If you tell others that you read a lot, but you don't, well, first of all, maybe stop telling people that you read a lot. Secondly, people will know the moment they realize, for example, that you don't know the book that you said you did. The point I'm making here is not even to show to others, but to yourself as well. You know in your depth, in your heart, what you truly do, and whether, especially in terms of deciding your goals. For example, if your goal for next year is to run a marathon, but you don't go every day to do some running exercises and stretching and train, then if anything, you're asking yourself for some, for getting hurt if you're still going to do the marathon. Why are you lying to yourself? What's the point of this goal even? What is the point of choosing a goal for yourself that you don't actually care about? It's like, it's absurd. It's like a man-made hell in a way, cursing yourself into something, torturing yourself with something you don't like. We need to be honest. It's like the free speech and integrity and security and all these ideas again and again. Be honest with yourself. No one's judging you. No one's asking you to do anything. What do you want to do? What is important for you? It doesn't matter if everyone else is gonna be fit this year and if all your other friends tell you, oh, this year my goal is to run a marathon, it doesn't matter that they do it. You don't have to run a marathon this year. It's not like it's a year of running marathon for everyone. Make sure that your goals and whatever you do is in line with what you value. Or change your values. So for example, if you're a healthy, focused person, if you're an athletic, focused person, I will be able to recognize that you are, because I will hear from you that, oh yeah, last week I went to the gym a couple of times, I had these really healthy, homemade dinners, whatever. If you tell me, and I have that discussion a couple of times already with some people I've met, I don't drink alcohol anymore, or at least basically majorly I don't drink. I drink very, very sporadically on some very special occasion. But people have a tendency to tell me during events, especially as they are sipping on a beer or drinking some vodka lemonade, how they don't want to drink, or they don't drink that much anymore, or they were thinking about quitting. It's like, why are you saying that? What's the point? Why? It's almost like explaining yourself because maybe they feel guilty about it. I don't care. Do what you want. The point here is, though, do what feels right for you. If you don't want to drink alcohol, don't drink it, you know? If you don't want to feel sluggish and lazy and, heavy because you've eaten so much and you don't work out, don't tell me you don't want to do that. Just do something about it. Get yourself a gym pass and start working out. I don't know, go for a walk. Whatever. Show with action to the world what you want to do. Show yourself with action what you want to do. And a good quote from Brené Brown is, every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you wish to become. That's so powerful, you know? What your actions tell you about you. Reflect on your last week. What kind of person do you think you're becoming through what you did? Did you do some activities that are likely to prolong your life and make it more healthy? Or did you do some activities that if you were doing them every week is gonna probably drive you to the grave prematurely? Like, this is a very serious conversation, really, an adult one, because it's something that every day we do a set of habits, and those habits are subconscious or conscious, it doesn't matter, but they are still there. If every day you will brush your teeth, you're likely to keep your teeth in a fairly good shape over time. If every day instead of brushing your teeth you will be eating chocolate, well, their teeth will likely over time look slightly different than those that are brushed. And in the same way, other areas of your life are going to be affected. If every day you make sure you kiss your love goodbye and you tell them you love them, well, it will have a different outcome than if every day when you say goodbye to your love, you don't say anything at all, you just slam the door and you leave. You know? So these are like micro practices, little actions that over time will show you a new reality. You will build your new reality. So the question is, where do you want to be in 1 year? What kind of reality do you want to look at in 1 year? What do you want to be surrounded with? What do you want to be doing? How do you want to be feeling? And one thing that I'd like to end this with is a quote from Joe Rogan, who was talking about how martial arts, how jiu-jitsu helped him with keeping humble and overcoming difficulties in his own life. He said something like, you need something in your life that is more difficult than your life, because life is difficult and there will be times in your life when you feel down. And so by practicing martial arts, by practicing the art of trying to not get killed and trying to kill, obviously in a safe environment, he claims to be able to take away the pain of everyday life and just focus on that. And I would agree, you know, when I'm on the mat rolling in jiu-jitsu, even though I might not be as great as others, it doesn't matter. I don't think about my life when I'm there, because I'm thinking about keeping myself alive when I'm there. That's the whole point of martial arts, right? It's very difficult to think about your financial difficulties or about potentially losing a job or about the fact that someone broke your heart if another person is punching you in the face. So the point here is, maybe choose yourself for the next year some difficult hobby to pick up. Whether it is martial arts, whether it is learning a new language, whether it is learning how to dance, or, whatever. Immerse yourself with something that is difficult enough for you that you can not think for that time when you're practicing it about the difficulties of your life. And you will see that your life is much more calm because of this. And that's just a side invitation that I wanted to share with you, following the inspiration by Joe Rogan. Now, I'll share with you the highlights for the episode. Sorry for my runny nose. As you can hear, I'm still slightly on the edge. Okay, so my friends, this is really exciting. I want to share with you. I feel like last year I made a post on Instagram, but barely any of you are on Instagram following the podcast, while so many of you are listening to it every day. So some amazing stats for you. Our follower base grew by 49%, which is crazy. Basically half of what was grew over the last year, which is amazing. Thank you so much for that. Secondly, classic, the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying is still the number one, and I'm not surprised. I'm trying to see if any other episode will beat it over time, but it's difficult because it has a huge head start at this point. It's been with us for 2 years now, this episode, and it's by far the most loved that I've ever seen. Yeah, we streamed, at least on Spotify, in 34 countries, which is great, which is amazing. I don't know, it sounds absurd. I feel humbled by it, and it gives me an immense amount of happiness and satisfaction, and I'm pretty sure you can tell even with my ill voice. Now, in terms of the greatest of them all, I know this is not that much, but oh my god. Unusual Stories podcast was in top 25% of video podcasts on Spotify. Now, I don't know how many video podcasts out there, but top 25, I mean, what can I say? For me, this is huge, right? We're just getting started. So, considering I have no marketing team, no editing team, no sound team, I don't even have a personal assistant to plan my sessions. I think this is a huge deal, and it's because of you, right? It's because of you listening, it's because of you sharing with others, it's because of you liking the post, or it's because of you giving me thumbs up, and maybe sometimes when I'm feeling down, suddenly I get the odd email saying something really kind, and it's because of you. So thanks for that. That's amazing. Let's do it even better next year. Now, finally, out of my fan base, out of you, I'm a number one show for 13 of you, which is really nice. I'm humbled. Thank you so much. I'm a top 5 for 54 of you, which is also amazing, and I'm top 10 for 94. So, whatever, that's still amazing, and I hope that you're enjoying it. That's why you're listening. Maybe you listen because you like my background, or maybe you like the way I sometimes randomly chat about complete, utter, different stuff. I don't know. Maybe you like to listening to my weird foreign, British, I don't know, amalgam of an accent. Maybe you like it for ASMR. Maybe you like when sometime my flatmate smacks the door or whatever. Whatever you like it for, I appreciate that you do, and so thank you so much for that. And so these are some highlights, and I'm just impressed. I thought I'll give myself the benefit in the future also of reviewing these ideas, and truly Thank you so much. It's amazing. Now, finally, I'd like to maybe first one more thing. So, of course, next year, yet again, we'll do some episodes series with books and book reviews. Obviously, I keep reading, so there are some books stacking up in my list. But also, we might have some live interviews. I have some people lined up that I postponed, and I reach out to them again. My invitation to you is, if you'd like, please feel free to either comment below, send me a direct message on social media, or email me via the link below any suggestions you have for the books I should read and review, or maybe ideas that I should talk about. As I said, we are creating this together. I know it might not feel like it, especially if you're just passively listening, but I would tell you that's not true, because I see what you're listening to and how you listen. And so the more information you give me of what works and what doesn't, the better this becomes. So if you'd like, then please feel free to share with me some of the books that you think would be suitable for the podcast, or maybe, some of the ideas that you'd like me to explore. And so I'll look forward to listening to that, hearing your advice, and then maybe, who knows, taking it forward. I think it would be wonderful to get some more inspiration from you, so please do let me know. And now, without further ado, I'll share with you this prayer poem I've written for myself. And just for context, my invitation for you for this week and this year coming is gonna be based on Peterson's 12 rules for life, or 12 moral rules for life, either of them. One of the rules is work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. I've tried to practice that. I intended to practice that with my university last year, and so the one that I've just finished, and it paid off. I've gotten a distinction, the highest grade, and I also gotten an additional award for the best student in the department, which I find utterly crazy because I wasn't that great, but it definitely showed me that if you work very, very hard on something, you will get the results you're working for. It might not be easy, it might not be pleasant, but if you think that's necessary, then it's worth it, and so do it. And I've written this poem after learning that I've gotten the grades I've gotten and basically achieved my goal in that regard. And it was reflecting this idea that you could try and work as hard as you possibly can on something and see where it leads. So this is the good life prayer I've written 2 months ago, and maybe this is something that inspires you. Let's see. Remember this and nothing more. When down you feel or hurt, your work and effort count, that's all. On your hands, only dirt. You said you would, and so you did. You planned and executed. You made the cut, you nailed it, though life's so convoluted. Remember how you made a point of doing all you could? Recall now how it felt to know you proved it to be good. Surround yourself with those who care, and care for them much more. Be guided to know what and where. Make sure to let things go. Remind yourself from time to time that all will soon pass by. Don't let your worries linger long, and kiss those you love goodbye. Breathe in, feel the heat within. Grow, learn, evolve, get strong. Do make the effort, follow through, be true and keep your word. When rain comes, smile and dance. When sun's out, don't grow stale. Love, honor, time well spent. All else is but a veil. Don't sell yourself short. Give praise where it is earned. Persistence triumphs all. Make sure you understand. Remember this and nothing more. When down you feel or hurt, your work and effort count, that's all. One day you will be dirt. Yeah, my girlfriend's reaction to that was that it's a bit morbid. I don't know. I wonder how you feel. Feel free to share with me how. Otherwise, thank you for listening to that. I feel like this was quite an intimate moment. So yeah, as I said, in terms of the next year, consistency, guys. Consistency is key. Stay true to whatever you're gonna be doing. Decide on your goals based on your values and follow through. And I have no doubt that you will succeed in whatever you're doing. So just show up. Just do what you need to do. In terms of the invitation, I already spoiled the surprise. I would invite you to consider these New Year resolutions, intentions, goals, whatever you call them, and decide on maybe one or a few of them that you will work as hard as you possibly can on that and see what happens. Because it truly might revolutionize your life if you see one part, one aspect, one area of your life drastically improve. Because it will, in a way, show you that you can, and maybe that's the thing you most importantly need right now. You know, there is so much talk in the world in general about victims and about being weak and troubled and mentally unfit and whatever. I don't think those are powerful states to be coming from. I'd rather you courageously take on the responsibility and challenge yourself and even fail a few times, you know, stumble. But as long as you keep showing up, as long as you try to do at least 70%, you will be successful. I have no doubt. And so that's what I wish for you. In terms of wishing for Christmas time, I wish for you and your loved ones to have a wonderful time together. I wish for you to eat well, stay well, potentially stay healthy while eating well and staying well. I wish for you loads of peace. I hope that you can find peace and quiet, that you can find time for the things you like to do and not the things you need to do, although some of them might overlap. And I wish for you all the best, you know. Thank you so much for listening to this for so long and hopefully for many more. I will be here. And yeah, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. That's an interesting thing to say to a screen in a wardrobe, speaking to yourself. But yeah, thank you so much for all of your kind wishes and support and for listening. And so I wish you all the best and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you next year.